This is Take Flights with Mark Whittle.
Welcome to Take Flight. I'm Mark Whittle, former city worker turned performance coach. And this is your place for inspiration and education on ways to optimise your performance and find your purpose.
I was on Love Island like 5.5 years ago now.
Going on the show must have been terrifying beforehand.
I think that is the only thing that I've ever felt completely confident about. I feel like your gut says a lot, because if you don't try, then you'll never know. There's like a huge world out there of opportunity. I actually moved to London to be a dancer. That's what I originally came to do. I fell out of love with performing and I started doing teaching as a fitness instructor. And that's where I found like my vocation, you know, my calling. I loved it. I'm never going to be what I want to be if I don't work for it.
I heard something the other day that said that there's no elevator to success, there's only the stairs.
Yeah, it's so true. It's such a bigger sense of achievement if you work hard for something rather than being given it. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity of Love Island and giving me the platform that I've got. I was a completely different person then.
But what's changed?
Cabin crew, passengers, prepare for takeoff.
I was on Love Island like 5.5 years ago now.
Wow, is it that long ago?
Yeah. I feel like I was a completely different person then. Very weird. Because when I watch it now, like the kind of people, not the kind of people, but the age of people that go on there now, I'm like, oh my God, I'm 11 years older than the youngest girl that was on this year. That's mental.
I was watching Arsenal the other day and a 15-year-old came on. He's
I know.
Born in 2007.
I know,
was like,
Ethan
oh,
something.
Yeah.
And I was watching his Instagram following literally just like go up and up and up. Crazy.
What did he go to?
Well, within like 5 minutes, it had grown 2,000, 2,000 numbers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's on now. I need to actually look and see what it's on now. Because that's what it was like when I came out of Love Island as well. The day we came off, I came off with like 400,000 followers, and over like a matter of days, it kept going up and up and up. I wish I did that now. It's so hard to keep them these days.
Yeah.
Ethan Nwanery, 169,000.
Shit.
So it's like tripled.
Since Saturday. Or Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I can't believe it. So when you finished the show,
Yeah.
it was 400 what?
So I went in with like just under 2,000 followers,
Yeah.
and I thought I was like an influencer. And then I came off and it was like 469, 100,000, something like that. And I thought that was good, anyway. I was like, wow. And then gradually over the next few days, because it finished at the end of July, I think, and just literally within a few days, it was like 1 million. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Because it like changes from, you can have 999 and then when it goes to 1 million, it's like the 1M.
Yeah.
Which is almost worse, because then if you go back down to 999, you're like, shit, need to get back up there. Yeah. But yeah, it's so difficult.
And what, you're like 1.1?
1.1.
1.1.
Yeah, but I've been stuck there for a while. Don't know what I need to do to get better at that.
Is that still important to get growth?
Well, yeah, I mean, because I feel like Instagram is so oversaturated, and especially if you are from Love Island or whatever. I mean, everyone's been on Love Island now these days. I'm very lucky, I feel like, that I have my niche with the fitness stuff, because that's all I've pretty much ever known before, and then since I've been off, so that's what I've made my bread and butter out of. Luckily, because I think I know if I was just to be doing the fashion and beauty post, I wouldn't be existing anymore. They would have just dropped and dropped and dropped. Or go back to my old job, I think.
What was the old job?
PTing before, I don't do that anymore, like on a one-to-one basis, because I just don't have the time. And, to like commit, because in order to see results, you need to really commit to someone to be over like at least a 3-month period. And I like to go on holiday. Quite often. I don't know why I got a dog, to be honest, because he's like the only factor now that stops me from just packing my bags and pissing off.
It's the worst. I've got a dog too. It's so sad.
I love him so much though, and I'm like, I love you, but I want to move to Bali.
Take the dog too.
No, apparently you can. You have to go to Jakarta first and then quarantine for 14 days and then go. I've already looked into it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I was looking at moving to LA and it was the same. Like you can take your dog over. It's fine. Yeah.
And also, but with Bali, maybe I shouldn't tell everyone this, because most people will move. If you move over and you've got a British business, you don't have to pay tax for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. See you in Bali.
I'll see you in Bali. Like now. Let's go.
I know.
You're saying there about like if you just carry on doing the beauty and fashion posts.
Yeah. So I don't really do any of them anymore.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that I was most excited about speaking with you about, because you said it was just like killing your soul.
Well,
Didn't
yeah.
feel like you.
Yeah. So actually, one of my most honest friends said to me, not that long after I finished the show, she was like, mate, you don't wear that many outfits in one day. Because when you first come off, people, it's a bit different now because I feel like people get more money for less posts these days because, as I said, it's so, everyone's in such high demand. Whereas when we came off, I think I was doing like 3 fashion posts a day for different brands. Yeah, she was like, there's no way that is relatable. And it was true. I saw people, like, this was right at the beginning as well, people start to drop off following you because they're like, oh, you've just become another influencer now. And it was killing my soul because I love clothes and I love fashion and all that, but after a while it gets a bit boring for me and I want to be doing something that makes me feel rewarded, you know? So yeah, eventually I kind of like started to do more fitness and that on there, and I do the odd fashion post every now and again now, but it's mainly like I want to keep it as streamlined as possible, you know? Yeah. So when people go on my page, they see exactly what they're getting straight away, which is hard because also when you're from Love Island, I know that I have to stay true to my roots in some respects because I got those million followers from being on that show. So I still want to show a bit of personality over there, show like my life other than just working out all day every day, because I believe that a lot of people will be like, well, that's not actually why I followed you in the first place. And yes, now I feel like my following has changed and I feel like I have obviously gained new followers over the last few years that might not have known I was on Love Island prior, because I'm lucky with that amount of followers, with the algorithm and all that, to be able to be seen if people don't previously know me. But sometimes I do think I'm probably going to have to just like post a picture of, you know, like me and Brandon just like chilling, because even though it doesn't go in line with everything else, people still want to see like the real you. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I think I don't know if punished is the right word, but the algorithm punishes you for trying to do the same stuff all the time.
Oh, the algorithm, literally, it's like the bane of everybody's life, don't you think? Like, especially now with all these other things coming into play, like Instagram is now, I feel, becoming TikTok. And then this is kind of my fight in my head because, as you know, before Love Island, I had less than 2,000 followers. So even though I thought I was like doing really well, I wasn't really an influencer. I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know anything about algorithms and all that. I've just kind of been thrown into it and I've just tried to make the best of a good situation. But now that there's other things coming into play, there's really good content creators, there's TikTok, there's all these different things that you should and could be doing if you were really good at social content, that it becomes like I'm constantly fighting to stay good on Instagram, but then I also have to try and learn TikTok. Yeah. Whereas other people are really good at creating content. I'm really trying, but there's so much that you can do with it these days that it's hard to not look amateur.
Yeah. The expectation from followers and people who are viewing and consuming the content is now of like a 4K production.
Yeah.
Like super high quality.
Yeah. But then there's this other argument that apparently the Gen Z, they're on TikTok doing vaping. I saw this one the other day. This girl was like just stood there vaping, dancing around in a circle. It's about 10 seconds long and she just wrote something over the top of it.
Yeah.
And it had millions of views.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that must have taken her 5 seconds, but I didn't know where to start with just creating that. And then you have the other end of the spectrum where you have people creating, as you said, 4K visions, like stories. Yeah. And then there's me sat there making a reel, taking 3 hours to do like a 15-second shitty reel. For God's sake. I need to employ someone.
Yeah, that's the difference, I think. Yeah. And I think also you have to have like a solid why behind why you're doing it, right? Because then you can actually measure, you don't measure the success by the likes or the engagement, it's by what you set the outcome beforehand.
Say on average, I'll get between 300 to 500,000 views on a fitness reel, which is great. But if you look at the likes, people aren't liking, they're just watching. It's different.
Yeah, same.
It's more about like comments and saves and things like that. Like if I did an ab workout when I was in Ibiza and it got like 8,000 saves and I was like, this is amazing. Because people can then go back to it and all that jazz.
But then how do you replicate that? It's like, okay, cool, I can use that data to create something else, but it's like you can't do the same thing again. So.
But then also, apparently with the algorithm, I also learned this from someone else that's really like consistently gets really good views, that apparently you need to post at the same time every single day. You need to post the same kind of theme every single day, the same length, so the algorithm recognizes what you're doing. So then eventually if you do get like a paid post, the algorithm's just kind of in autopilot with you, so it'll still get the same traction as the other ones did because you kind of tricked it.
It's wild. Anyone listening to this who isn't in this game is probably thinking, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. And also, I'm saying all this and I don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
I'm just winging it.
I know. You kind of have to make it up, which is I think that's frustrating about creating content.
Yeah. I find because I'm not just a content creator for Instagram. My main thing is my online fitness thing.
Yeah.
So I spend 80% of my energy on that. And then it's like, oh shit, I need to post a reel because otherwise my views are going to go down and all that. It's always like on the back foot. But most people that are flying with the content is because that is their first and foremost. That is what earns them their money, you know?
Yeah. So should we do a quick speed dating?
Okay.
You said you're sure I'm do other stuff. Or
Yeah.
I do other stuff. So I'm a coach, not a fitness coach, but a coach, like mindset or life coach or performance coach.
I need to hire you.
Yeah, let's do it.
I do.
Let's do it. So what's your little speed dating intro?
So I would say I'm an online coach. Therefore, everything I do is online. I wouldn't necessarily call myself an influencer, but I suppose in some ways I am. But more of an influencer, through my page, I want to try and show of obviously fitness and health and wellness and all that, but show a bit of real stuff too. At the moment I'm talking about my bit of, it's a bit feminine, but polycystic ovary journey that I'm going through. Over the last few years, just trying to help people with health and wellness and also just be as real as possible on there.
Amazing. I get that as well. It feels proper honest, what you talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way that it comes across.
I try. And then sometimes I feel like if I have a few days off of socials, I find it really hard to get back on because sometimes I'm don't know what to talk about.
It's not natural, that's why.
Yeah, it's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
It can take me back to get back into my rhythm. And also, a lot of the time I'm I just don't want to be just chatting absolute waffle on here. I want to actually be talking about something that's
valuable,
relevant
yeah,
to someone.
I mean, it's funny about that, isn't it? Because the body and the brain knows what it wants. So when you have some time away from it, it's it resists
So
going
nice.
back. Even I've recently changed my diet because I was eating crap. And then I saw someone on the tube next to me eating a brownie, which I would have been all over 2 weeks ago. But I was I actually couldn't think of anything worse.
Really?
Right now. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Because it's hard to make the change
Yeah, it is.
in the first instance. But then when you do, you know what you want and what's good for you.
Yeah, it's so true.
Intuitively.
Yeah. And also, I'm exactly the same. I am 80% really on my health game. And then as soon as I fall off, I have about 3 days where I'm just eating crap.
Yeah.
And then I'm right, okay, that's enough. Back on it now. And it's the same because 2 days ago I would have been oh yeah, brownie. But because I've worked out today, I'm ugh, wouldn't eat that today.
Yeah. Ruin all the work I did in the gym.
Yeah.
You said earlier that you feel like you're a completely different person from when you left the Love Island show.
Yeah.
What's changed?
My journey through being in the the public eye, whatever, has changed a lot. Because initially when you first come out of a show like that, you're so relevant, or you're in the press all the time and all that stuff, and it's about staying as relevant as possible, whereas I don't care about anything like that anymore. I think the more shows that go past you, the more years of Love Island, it kind of becomes oh, I'm so glad that I'm not at just come out.
Yeah.
So someone like Molly May, she's so famous that I don't know whether you saw, so she brought someone took their kids to her house to get selfies with her. I was oh my God, that is so not right. When I was younger, when I was a kid, a baby, I always used to say I want to be famous. And I'm actually so glad that I'm not famous like that. I'm happy with where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know?
But you have a level of fame though.
Yeah. People still recognise me. But yeah, so when I first came off, I was really obsessed with the whole reality thing. I went to every event I was invited to. I did every job that I was asked to do, which we'll come on to, I'm sure. Work things. I did everything just because I was so worried that it was going to disappear at any point. And now everything that I do is because I actually want to do it, or because I know that it's going to have longevity to it. Or, since I started doing my Shape Up with Gabby programs, the reward I get from that is so much better, so much more than Instagram, and just doing, the odd little post, or trying to get as many views as I can on there. Of course, everything has to come hand in hand, because the more people see on my socials, the more people I get to sign up to my plans. But it's actually like seeing progress, because some people have been with me since the beginning of the first Shape Up group, which was in the first lockdown, and they're still with me now. And just seeing someone's journey and the transition from group to group, and you know, over the years, we've almost become, well, we are a community, but I know people on a friendly level now, and that is everything that I was doing before Love Island, but obviously on a completely different scale. And that is so worth so much more than all the other like fickle shit. It's so true. Yeah. And that's one thing I've been asked before, like if I was to say to anyone that comes off any sort of show, or before you go on a show, make sure you have something that's like of value to you before you go on, because I am so lucky that I did have my fitness stuff before, because it was what I was passionate about. I actually moved to London to be a dancer. That's what I originally came to do. I went to Italy Conti, didn't I? I fell out of love with performing, and I started doing teaching as a fitness instructor. And that's where I found like my vocation, you know, my calling. I loved it, because it's still an element of performing in a way, isn't it? It's like, you know, you're doing your fitness class, but you get to do it with other people that are working together, you know, it's a relationship. And I just found that so much more rewarding. So anyway, to be able to do that on such a bigger scale is like so different and so amazing.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good to hear. I mean,
that's a very long answer, sorry.
No, it's amazing. It's so good to hear, because I think like really, like if I distill down what the coaching is, it's helping people understand who they are. Yeah. And then you can understand who you want to be and what you need to do in order to become that person. Yeah. Or you knew who you were before, or at least you knew what your passions were, which was fitness, dance, performance, other things as well. But like fitness is kind of the core. Yeah. So you had something before you went in and before you changed drastically. Yeah. Whereas people who don't have that awareness before they go in a show and they're basically told who they are.
Yeah, exactly. They're moulded into, or they think that they need to be like somebody else that's doing really well. And then there's that element of resentment against not getting that far. And that is, it almost stops people from, if you've got any brains, sometimes it stops people from going on. But I feel like some people do come off and they think that they're going to be, you know, get all these offers and do, but it is actually quite scary when you think about it.
Well, what would you say? Because like a big element of this podcast, it's called Take Flight. It's like this leap of faith, right? Like jumping into something which can be scary. You don't necessarily know what's on the other side of it, but you're probably super passionate about it, or you're really curious about what that thing is. A lot of people have those opportunities or think of ideas where they might be able to do that and don't do it for whatever reason. Fear. Imposter syndrome, like all these things we spoke about. But you've done that. Like going on the show must have been terrifying beforehand.
I think that is the only thing that I've ever felt completely confident about.
Really?
Before I went in. But before I even got offered it, I felt like I already knew that I had it. And then when I went in there, I was completely different to how I thought I would be. It was so weird. It was such a weird experience.
In what way?
And I feel like the producers probably thought that as well. So they actually asked me to do it a year before. And I said no, because I had a boyfriend I thought I was going to marry. Well, I was only with him for 10 months. So the girl that had asked me to audition, I actually reached out to her a year later and I was like, don't have a boyfriend anymore. She was like, oh, come in for auditions. Went in, I only did 2 auditions and then I got it, but it was like just this weird, like, I wasn't nervous. I was like really calm and I just kind of already thought, I'm doing this. But I went in there and they asked you like loads of questions about your, like who you are as a person and your sex life and all this stuff. And I was telling them all the like proper details, you know, because I was thinking, I want to get this. And then I went in and I was so reserved and so didn't do anything. I was the only person I think on that season that didn't have sex. And I bet they were thinking, what is going on? Because she'd just been like talking to us, telling us like all these stories. But it's because when you're put in that situation, there's loads of people, cameras watching you. I was like, I'm not a porn star. I don't want to have sex on TV. But yeah, like taking that, like doing the show was, my brother told me not to do it because he thought that I was going to come out and, you know, have my life would be a bit of a mess because of it. And it actually went in the other way. But then he got asked to do it.
Really?
A couple of years afterwards and didn't take it because he was like, I'm so worried that he's in banking, he's in like the corporate world. And he's like, if I don't do well, then I've kind of sacrificed what he could have had in the corporate world to potentially do well on Love Island. But what if you go in and you're only in for a week?
Yeah.
And then you come off and you're like, you fucked it.
Well, there's always something else.
Yeah.
I think there's always something else. And
It's like weighing it up, what's worth it.
yeah, I think, well, it's hard, isn't it? I think if you know who you are and what you're trying to do with your life, then it's easier to make those decisions. It's easy to say, it's much harder in the moment to do it. But if he loves the corporate world, then he's made the right decision and he sees a path and a future for himself there. If he hates it, then maybe that would have been a good thing to pursue.
I know, but then what do you do if like you kind of have kind of a path that's already written for you, and you know the corporate world is kind of, he knows he's going in what direction, he knows what the end goal is, or you know what you're kind of going towards. There might be little things off here and there, but all in all, you going to that end goal to be the best of, I don't know what they call them, CEOs or you know, all that.
CEO, director, something like that. Yeah.
So you know that you're going to be end up on a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you know it's all going to be set out for you, but it's a long slog to get there. Or you take that chance and start your own business or go on Love Island, and then you're not guaranteed anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm like so.
The other one.
Yeah, I'm like so in the take the risk camp. Like I left the corporate world. This is the podcast allowed me to jump and leave the corporate world. Yeah, but it's just because it didn't align with who I wanted to be, and I didn't like being restricted in the role. I didn't like feeling like there were limitations around what I could do. Like one of the gifts and the curses of working for yourself is you can do fucking anything.
I know.
So you actually have to really narrow down what it is that you want to do and really figure it out.
You need to get him in. You need to like talk to him. Like get into his brain. I'm gonna hire you for him because he wants to do his own thing.
Does he?
Yeah,
well,
really does. But I think it's finding out what he wants to do though, because he's not quite sure. It's not like he wants to go on Dragon's Den and bring out a bloody object of some sort. You know.
But there's loads to it, like identifying, you know, what you're passionate about, what lights you up, what your skills already, where your weakness is. You know, what your values align.
So do you start at like the end, well, you know, see what it is that you want to kind of, where you envision yourself in 10 years time, and then work back from that?
Start with where you are today. Who are you today? And it's a long process. It can take like months or even years, but looking back at things that happened in your life beforehand, which have dictated how you believe the world to be or how you perceive it to be now. Right, so things happen in our past, and that leads to beliefs that we hold. And that's how we see the world. Right? So even if I'm thinking now, like, what would be the reason that you said you took a load of jobs that you didn't want? You said that you thought that they might not come around again. That's like a living from lack mindset, which I've done that before, by the way. But that's a fear of like loss or a fear of not having another thing again. So where have you experienced those fears before? And they hold like core beliefs.
Because there's a lot of things in hindsight that I'm like, I wish I hadn't have done that, because it is, I feel like taking a bit of integrity from stuff moving forward, which is annoying, because what I would do now, for example, I've got a cookbook out. I mean, it's a cookbook. That is a achievement in itself, I suppose. However, I feel like the whole process was really rushed, and I had a ghostwriter with me who, I mean, I spoke to her about everything. I told her everything. We went through, and I suppose at the time it was as best as it probably could have been then. But I feel like I should have waited a few years, because now what I would produce would be so much better. So now I'm like, but those people that bought the previous book, will they buy the next one? Because what if it wasn't as good as it should have been?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they will, by the way. But I know that 100%.
Well,
like how good is it though when you realise like the value of patience?
Yeah.
Like stop rushing.
I feel like that comes with age though.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And making mistakes.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before where, let's say maybe a relationship or something, I've really wanted to rush getting them on the podcast, or I've wanted to rush collaborating or working with them or something like that. You know, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, you know, they're not going anywhere. Like, why rush anything?
Yeah.
If it happens, it happens. And actually, if it doesn't, it's probably not meant to be anyway, which is such a hard mindset to have.
That is really hard.
But I think when you let those things unfold naturally, like you do end up with better people anyway.
Yeah. I need to like have you also like, you should do those, you know, I don't know whether you do them, like few minute mindset things every day.
I've thought about doing them like for ages, but
Because I feel like, I mean, on my dog walk every morning, I always try and listen to something, or if I remember to, like listen to something that like kind of gets my brain in order.
I'll do solo pods, little 5-minute ones.
There's like these crazy American men that just like shout. They've like done the talks and
which ones do you know who you heard?
I don't know the names, but there's like they just like shout at you, and I'm like, okay, because I mean it is inspiring, but it's like I'm like Jesus Christ, like okay, I don't really know where to start, but okay, I'm on it. You know, you should do it because you're quite like you've got a calming aura.
You want it to be calmer, not shouting. Okay.
Yeah, someone to be like, you've got this.
Yeah.
Like literally what you've just said. Just have patience. You don't need to rush into those things. Like literally what you've just said, rather than get it fucking done.
Yeah.
Don't sleep 3 hours a night. That's it. I'm like, okay, shit.
That's the soundbite, by the way. I'm going to use you as the soundbite. But at the same time, there's always an argument for the other, right? Like you and I value patience now because we have experienced and lived without it. You always value the things you have as a void, whereas some people will value the aggressive, assertive style.
Yeah, I think I have to basically battle with myself to be like, you don't have to rush into something because if it's gonna work out well, it's gonna work out well anyway. But you just don't want to miss the window of opportunity. Yeah, that's what I worry about.
100%. Timing is so important.
Yeah.
But again, that's one we can't control. So the book happened. It was a great opportunity. You took it. Amazing. Yeah. And it was like it sold really well and it was great, right?
Yeah, it did well, but that was like just because of, I keep saying but, it did well. I was lucky and fortunate at the time to have the avid followers that would have bought anything that I would have put out anyway. And you know what? People do use it. Like on my Shape Up group, people use it. We cook recipes from there. There's a great chili recipe in there. There is lots of things that were good, but I mean, I look different from that then, which isn't a bad thing. I've just aged.
Great. And you look great.
But compared to the book, I'm going to send you one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But can you accept that you look great?
Thank you. I feel better than I did then.
Yeah.
Which is good. But I'm obviously just annoyed because I just basically need to bring out a new cookbook.
Yeah. But also, I'd argue that, like, as a category, cookbooks I've got 10 and I've never used any of them.
Yeah.
Never used any of them.
They just look like cool.
They look cool in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I've used one cookbook. I can't remember what it's called now. But then it's another thing, like, Instagram has become this basically cookbook, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So what's the point in bringing out a book? Because you can just go on Instagram, type in creamy chicken pasta, and it comes up.
Well, yeah, you can, and other people who are on it a lot and know that will. But we are in an echo chamber. Like,
what's that?
As in, like, probably on your Instagram, all you see is fitness content and influencers and the people that do your stuff, same as me.
Yeah.
So all I see is people doing motivational clips and clips of podcasting and all that. So I go on there, I'm like, fuck, everyone's doing this.
Yeah.
How can I do it better? And all that. That's the echo chamber.
I thought everyone was doing it.
No, they're not. That's the myth, right? That everybody's doing it, but it's just because that's what we see. The algorithm serves back to us all the things that we engage with and like, and the things we're doing.
Oh my god!
So that's an echo chamber, right? We hear the same thing going round and round, which is, I'm about to come off social media. I'll do 3 weeks to remove myself from the echo chamber and actually get back in touch with reality. That not everyone talks about personal.
You're about to do that?
Yeah, I'll take 3 weeks off from a week on Monday.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that is just to basically strip everything back.
Yeah, because. Oh, like you said, like when you've been on your phone, you just want to get rid of it. You don't want to look at it anymore. And also, it's such a distraction. I think I'm good at not being distracted. And then I wish I almost filmed myself because I'm sure that I'd just be scrolling like so much more than I actually think. But until you remove yourself from even being allowed to do it, that's when you really realise. The last time I did a month. And I got 3 full days back in time that I wasn't scrolling. Or like on my phone.
So what did you do? Like just delete the apps?
Hide them, yeah.
Wow.
Isn't
it crazy that that's like so scary?
I know. I've asked all of my clients and no one's replied. No one wants to do it. A lot of them have...
Oh yeah, I'm not doing that with you. Not a chance.
For a day? Would you do a day?
Oh yeah, I'd do a day. I'd quite happily leave my phone at home for 3 days.
Would you do 2 days?
Yeah.
A week?
Maybe not a week. Like just off socials or phone in general?
Off socials.
Oh, socials, yeah. I reckon I could do a week.
Yeah.
It's more just the fear that I'm going to log back on and have, like, no followers. Because I'm, like, haven't been posting for a while. And as I said, you know, with the algorithm, you have to be like on it all the time. But I do love it when I do take a few days off unintentionally, because it just feels like quieter almost, doesn't it?
We've lost this ability to have just quiet time with ourselves. You know, like back in the day, you'd queue up at a shop or somewhere. I don't know why I always think of the bank. The bank was always busy and you had to go into the bank. Yeah. But you stand and just queue. Yeah. And you just think.
I know. But the elderly, if you look at the elderly, they're never on the phones. Everyone's just sat on a bus, just looking around. Amazing. Whereas on the tube, I look like no one's looking up at you, ever.
I saw a picture, it was quite emotional actually, like full street for the Queen's funeral. All of these kids with their phones out and just one elderly lady stood at the front like just watching. Yeah, no phone.
Because I'm going to cry. Oh my God.
Yeah, just present, experiencing it, just watching it, having that moment for herself, whereas everyone else trying to capture it and put it on their story or whatever.
Wow.
I know. That's what it gives you in a snapshot, and you realise those things and how ridiculous it is, because I'm reading this book at the minute, it's called The Myth of Normal. Like, the things we experience aren't normal. Instagram's not normal. No. To be sharing everything that we do is not normal, but we've normalised it. So it's this myth that it is normal. We've accepted it, but we don't have to accept it.
My boyfriend was actually talking about this the other day. My goal and his goal is to get to a point where Instagram, because I don't post on Instagram for fun anymore. It is all just work mostly, or have to actively think about how well a post is going to do or what am I going to post next and all that stuff. I would like to get to the point where I'm probably never going to delete it, let's be honest, but because I'm nosy as well. But to be able to post because I want to post and because it's something fun or, you know, something like that. But I think my end goal is to be successful enough to take myself off social media in that way, and it to be more of a fun place for me to be again, and to just have my businesses kind of running anyway. That's a process over, I reckon, the next 10 years for me to get there.
What has to happen for you to be able to successfully, like, just completely come off it?
Well, the app comes out at the end of this month, beginning of next month, October 13th, I think. When that comes out, it doesn't even have to be perfect to start off with, because it is going to be hopefully an ongoing growth process, and eventually I'm going to have thousands and thousands of people signed up, and it's going to be making money whilst I'm peacefully sleeping. However, as I did everything on Facebook myself from the first lockdown, having to delegate different job roles to people is scary, because even though I don't want to do any of the admin because it's so boring and I'm not meant to be behind a desk, like having somebody else do that for me is nerve-wracking, because I'm like, what if they don't do it right? Or, you know, all that to think about. And then also the building of the app. I mean, I'm not a tech person, so I could never have done anything, but I reckon it's taken me about 2 years to actually choose a company to do it with. And so it's so nerve-wracking for me, and I really, really hope it does well. However, it will do well, and eventually I'm hoping, like, say if it's been running for, you know, a good 5 years, I will have people that are just regular users of the app that have been with me for so long. There will be elements of me having to do some marketing and advertising in some way, but I'm just hoping that once the 5-year mark or 10-year mark has passed, it will just be a given that it's just going to be a rolling kind of growing process. And then the other thing that I really, really, really want to do, which I think will be my baby once I get it off the ground, is I really want to have my own retreats company. And I've already been in talks with people, but it's actually a lot harder than you think. Even though, I mean, I've been on a few really awful retreats, but I've also been on some really good ones. And I find it like having the right aesthetic, having the right kind of food, everything that seems so simple. And I thought I could do it all myself, and I can't. But basically, when that's up and running off the ground, that once again is going to be word of mouth, and hopefully that will keep on growing and growing and growing. So in 5 years' time, I can be in a position to feel comfortable with like having kids and not having to work all the time, because things will run themselves, you know? That's where I want to be in like 10 years' time. Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And for people listening, like, because you said something there, which is, what can you do that no one else can do? So all the content, that's you. No one else can do that for you. Like your audience, people who haven't got that
where you can actually market to those people. But the admin jobs other people can do.
I know.
So your energy goes into creating the things that only you can create.
And that is what I've tried to, like, basically what you're saying is that, like, the energy that I've put into doing the admin stuff, I can now put into the stuff that I'm actually good at.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like admin. And you know what? It is actually funny because I currently, even content, like having to edit the content, I'm keep putting it off because I'm like, I don't want to sit on my laptop and do it. However, then I have to try and change my way of thinking. I'm like, this is what is going to earn you money. So you need to sit down and do it. It's not even going to take you that long. So stop putting it off and being a weirdo.
No, but we do procrastinate about things we don't like, right? I still pick every clip of this for socials.
Oh, do you?
I put it off. I hate
God
doing
help
it.
you. I'm so sorry.
I hate doing it. You know what I get from you is just such a good energy.
Oh, thanks.
And that's more valuable than anything. Anyway, that's what I care about. That's what currency I go by. So
Thank you.
as long as you can put that energy into the things you enjoy, it'll be great success, I'm sure.
Sometimes I'm a bit erratic or come across like a lot, but it's just because I really want everything to do well. You know what I mean?
You've got high standards.
Like passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I actually had therapy for a while. She was awful.
Really?
And
when did you have therapy?
at the end of last year for a few months, I was in the thinking about therapy because I heard someone say everybody should be in therapy. And I don't think it's therapy that I need. I think I need a mentor, like a mindset, because I've got so many things that I want to do. It's once again, delegating them to the right people and also just allocating enough time to do everything and patience and all that. So everything I know I should be doing, but I'm a little bit erratic when it comes to time management.
You think about like what as human beings, what do we need? What do we actually need? We need to eat really good food. We need periods of intense exercise, periods of prolonged rest. We need connection with people. We need all these things, right? But so many of us live in this intense, in the sympathetic nervous system, like the stress, one call to the next, to the next, to the meeting, to a travel here, to this, and it's constant. You don't get any of that prolonged rest.
It's like the busier you are, the better you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you not find that with people? I feel like that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of our societal beliefs is that you are successful if you're busy.
Yeah.
But also, especially with what you and I do, they're lifestyle businesses. You can set up yours however you want.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
The therapist said that she thinks I'm hyperactive. And I was like, I've never in my life been told that I'm hyperactive. Maybe it was because I always used to have a coffee before I went in, kind of like I am now. So I used to just talk. But she was always just like looking at me like I was crazy. She probably couldn't understand me.
When
Because I'm like, blah, 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 blah.
But do you know what? I think if she said that, I wouldn't want to judge because I wasn't there. But I did the same in therapy when I first went. Because I'd never had a place just to unearth everything and just get everything on my chest. So definitely for the first like 3-4, I just spoke non-stop for the whole hour.
Yeah.
And then I felt better.
Yeah. I do think that therapy is for a lot of people, but I just also feel like I don't want to talk about, not that I don't want to talk about, I just don't think it's necessary for me to talk about past stuff. I want to talk about future. So that's why I feel like I need someone of a different kind of coach.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I've got mine. I think everyone should have a coach. You know, you said that you had someone tell you that everyone should have a therapist.
Oh, yeah?
Agree, but like for certain, you have to be very specific with what you're trying to address with therapy, I think. With a coach, it applies to business, to personal life, to relationships if you want. It can be across everything.
That's very interesting that you say that, because most of my stress comes from everything else, all the stuff that would come under a coach umbrella. It would come from the time management and diagnosing myself with ADD because I can't bloody manage any of my time, and I think that I'm just incapable of it. And it's like, no, actually, how about you just get a diary and frigging write it down?
Yeah, literally.
I did do that. It's worked a little bit.
Yeah, the best thing I'm doing at the minute is Sunday night, literally writing out everything I've got in my week.
Really?
And then in my mind, I know what's coming up ahead. And I like set my intention.
That's good.
It's a really nice process.
So you do your what's coming up that week. You set your intention. What else do you do?
So I would have literally Monday to Friday, AM, PM, and a coaching session is 2 or 1 hours. So I have like probably something coaching in the morning, and then maybe another coaching session in the afternoon, or a podcast, or I'll have like half days where I'm doing the clips and all that shit. Always putting my gym sessions in there as well.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at the week like bird's eye view and see how much coaching I'm doing, how much podcasting I'm doing, and I'll almost like title the week with something. So I'll set an intention for it, like, okay, cool, you're doing loads of coaching, so then you're going to be super present and you're going to be there to serve. Like, that's it.
That's so sick.
And then, and this is only new, this is like a couple of months I've been doing this, but it's made a big difference. And then if I'm like podcasting, it's like, right, I'm going to be super like welcoming, and I'm going to be, you know, really curious, because that's the intention that I want to set, so that I get good value from the people and they enjoy it and they get value as well and all that sort of stuff. So
that's amazing.
You can also do it on the micro as well. So like we could have come in here and been like, cool, so what's the intention? Well, the intention is to have fun. That would have dictated the conversation.
My intention today was to come in and be confident.
Nice.
That literally was it. I said to Jamie, I'm going to blag it. I'm going to be as confident as possible.
Why blag it though? You are
because
confident.
it's the imposter syndrome, isn't it? And then I feel like when you say, oh, I've got imposter syndrome, you just sound like a wanker, because you're trying to like make out that you're really humble actually. And I'm not trying to be anyway like that. It's just, of course, I think if we were to do this podcast again in like a year's time when everything is flying, I'd be like, remember when?
Yeah.
It's just because at the moment I've got everything's pending. So even though, of course, they're going to be amazing and sell out, it's still the fear of, you know, the unknown.
There's a saying that says, when yesterday's ceilings become today's floors.
Oh, I
so
love
like
that.
elevation.
Yeah.
Right? But of course, the term imposter syndrome is basically discomfort, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's the unknown. We don't know. So we level ourselves up to this new floor. You've not been there before. Of course, you're going to be looking around like, fuck.
Yeah.
And actually, like on a biological level, when you're familiar with an environment, everything tones down a little bit.
Oh my God, yeah, it's so true.
And then when like coming in here as well, you're like fucking cameras on, lights on. It's like your brain's going like, fucking warning.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah. That is like such a amazing way of like kind of, what's the word? A metaphor for what is happening right now. Like I've been doing my Shape Up groups on one platform for the best part of like 3 years, 4 years, 3 years. And now I'm taking it to the next level because it's still exactly the same, but better, a better service. I'm literally offering them everything that I was doing before, but also a personalised workout plan, a personalised meal plan, one-to-one coaching if they want it. But I'm still like, oh, is it going to do well? Like, there's not in any way possible that it's not going to be better than it was before. But because it's new, I'm like, shit, this is scary.
And is it so like, can you talk to me a little bit more about what the app is? Because you had an app before, right?
Yes.
The same one?
Yeah, no. I had an app which was the same kind of thing as the book. It was all rushed. It was a really good idea to bring out a fitness app because this was, 5 years ago when I was one of the only people bringing out a fitness app then. I came out of Love Island at the end of July. We did everything for the app within like a month. I think I filmed everything for the app over the course of 2 days.
Wow.
So it was all very rushed and we have to get it out for Christmas and New Year. Otherwise, it's not going to do well. And to be fair, it was the best-selling app on the whole App Store, not even just health and fitness, the whole App Store for like 3 days. It absolutely killed it. However, that should have been a rolling process then, and I should have kept adding to it. I should have kept getting better and better. But it was kind of a bit of a quick buck for whoever else like I made it with, because there was never really any intention of continuing with it, which is kind of annoying because I know other people that started theirs at the same time and they've continued with theirs. Some have done really well, some haven't. So, you know, it could have gone both ways. And you know what? So much has happened in the last 5 years that I couldn't even tell you right now that it would be amazing. But it's just frustrating because I have had to go back to the start. And as you just said, it's like, you've got an app coming out. Didn't you already have one? It's like, yeah, but we don't talk about that one. So yeah, but it did really well. And I'm just hoping that this next one does just as well. You know, it was a different kind of app they paid $6.99 and they got everything in the app forever. And then it would have been, if I was going to go on, I would have added to it, and then they would have to buy add-ons and stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas my app that's coming up now is a monthly membership. I don't really want to call it an app as such. It's more like my membership program.
Like a community membership.
Yeah, right, community membership, because it's not just a one fits all. Everybody gets their own personalised thing. The only thing that is universal is every week I will still be doing my live workouts, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for the foreseeable. Eventually, it would be nice to come off and do maybe 2 a week, because the level of content that they'll already have on the app by that point will be fine. Because the initial reason for me moving it off Facebook and taking it onto something else was, one, yes, it was a lot of work admin wise, but also I was like, I can't do live workouts for the rest of my life. Like, what if I want to have a baby, or what if all this? Because that isn't really on the cards for the next few years. I'm not in any rush to do that, and I can do live workouts from anywhere in the world. So it gives me accountability. I love being, even though I can't see anyone, but they can see me, I love being present at the same time that I know other people are doing it as well. Because then on the community, we're able to talk about what's just happened, and everybody can say, oh wow, I love that class, or they can say, can you do something like this? Like, there's a level of communication, and people can tell me what they want, and I love being that, like, engaged with them. It's completely different to the one that we did before.
It sounds so exciting. Have you seen that image? It's like an iceberg, and at the tip of the iceberg it says success, and then there's the sea, and everything underneath it is like,
yes,
resilience, persistence, courage, failure, rejection, all these things. It's like, these are all the things that you don't consider that go into, like, you'll launch it, it'll be a raging success, and everyone will go, of course, Gabby's got a great app. Yeah. But no one sees everything underneath the surface that goes into it.
And, well, the amount of work that you have to go into every single podcast, fishing through my 10-minute monologues to have fishing out like that one sentence that you wanted. But I feel it is part of character building in a way, isn't it, as well? Because, you know, you've been doing this podcast now for 5 years, and now it's like your soul, you know, you love it, and it's taken you this long to get this far, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel the same, it took me so long to try and figure out what exactly I wanted to do with Shape Up. I've met a lot of people, had loads of different meetings. No one's really been quite right. They either wanted to just rob me blind and take all my business, or it just wasn't doing what I wanted to do. So finally, hopefully I've made the right choice, but you'll never know unless you try, right?
Exactly. Perfect, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. How has that affected, like, the way that you trust people? Because, like, I've worked with people who've had that experience where people come in with influencers who have big audiences, pitch the collaboration and tell them how great they are at business, but they just want to leverage their audience.
Yeah.
So if that's played out for you, like, how has that possibly changed how you trust people or you build relationships now?
So I had a meeting with this company that were really interested in working with me and wanted to help me build an app for Shape Up. And it was really exciting. I spent a good year meeting these people. From the meetings I felt like we were on the same kind of page, like there was the same end goal in sight. However, when it came down to the actual production of the app, they wanted me to, like, fund everything and then also pay them, but then they also wanted to take shares of the company. And I'm like, I obviously have to put so much work into this, content wise and marketing wise, in order for this to sell at all. Because on its own, like, without me being, like, the kind of face of it, it wasn't going to sell just being, like, Shape Up on its own. People would be like, what the hell, Shape Up? Yeah. Oh, Shape Up with Gabby, because I'm going, buy my app. It will sell. Then I was like, so you have to kind of meet me in the middle and offer your services without being paid as well. I think they wanted to give me like 25% or something, and they wanted to take 75%. And then I was like, well, after the tax man, I'm going to end up with nothing.
Do you have anyone advising you with that, or are you left to your own devices to make those negotiations?
So I've had it. It was kind of, I was off my own bat because I didn't want to bring my management in, because then they would have taken another 20%. Right. So I would have basically been doing it for free. But it was kind of a bit disheartening after I'd spent so much time and energy wanting to do it with these people, because I thought they were going to be the right people for me. Because at face value, they're lovely, and, you know, you feel like the heart's in the right place. But then when you receive an email, and I was actually like, wow, like, I can't believe you actually think for 1 second that I'm going to take that deal. And my boyfriend, he's very business minded, and he's got a few really successful businesses, and he's a bit younger than me as well. He's like 25, but he's absolutely flying. He's doing so well because he's got great business mind. So I ended up bringing him in. And I was like, can you like talk to these people with me? And then they offered me whatever they offer. And I was like, no. So we counter offer kind of thing, broke down all their offers and kind of like said, this is what I will be doing. And then it was just, I can't even really remember what happened after that, but it was pretty much just a hell fucking no. I'm not giving you a whole new business whilst you actually rinse me dry. Brandon says to me, he's like, I know that you spent a year meeting these people, but you also learnt a lot as well about the business, for one. Learn what you do need to be doing, even if you don't do it with them, because they, you know, they did all the spreadsheets, all the PowerPoints and all that. So I did learn a lot. And he's like, you have to just look at it like that, like a learning curve. Don't think that you've wasted time because you have learned something. I was like,
now you do it on your own?
So yeah, I'm just using a different company that I had to pay for the initial like building of the app. And then they take 20%, but I get to keep everything else, which is nice.
And who else is working on it day to day with you?
They have a whole team of people. So I have like different people doing different things. I've, you know, been building my brand, my logo, which has changed compared to the last one. And then I also have a new management dealing with my other stuff too, which I feel like over the last 6 months, I've really changed the team of people around me, which is nice. It's been a bit of a weird transition because you do get comfortable, but sometimes you just have to step out the comfort zone in order to make that ceiling the floor.
Yeah, nice. It's good as well because different people just allow you to get different perspectives.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the AJ, I think of that, or lots of athlete examples for this where they change teams. Boxers is a good example. If they lose, change the team around them, the coaches, the corner, you know, everyone who's around them, and have another go.
Definitely, because it's just like a clean slate, isn't it? Because you do get comfortable, and I won't grow in my career if I don't just try new things. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, so amazing to hear, Gabby. That's unreal. Congrats.
Thanks.
It's hard graft.
As well.
It will. Let it go to the universe.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Can I ask you?
Yes.
Because I was obviously doing my research and prep yesterday. And then in your story, I noticed you were literally in hospital like yesterday.
Oh, yeah. That was to do with my weird one. Polycystic ovaries.
Okay. But like it was something to do with...
my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a very irregular cycle. And people have always said, it's because you work out so much. I'm like, it's not. It was happening before that. I came off the pill like a year ago or something. And it's not because I want to get pregnant. It's just more about, now that I'm getting older, once again, I feel like I wanted to be more in tune with what is going on. I don't want to just rely on a pill that I'm not necessarily using for the right reasons, just to see what happens with my body. Anyway, long story short, periods come back like every 4 months. I went to see a gynecologist. They did the ultrasound, and turns out that I do have polycystic ovaries, but I don't really scream other symptoms because there's other things like excess body hair, being overweight, just like other things that usually someone with PCOS you might be able to say, oh, you know, it's because of that. So they did some bloods, and then it came back that my prolactin levels, which is prolactin is produced in your pituitary gland, and that was like quite highly elevated. So normally that means that it's down to like some sort of tumour growing in your pituitary gland. So basically I had to go for an MRI yesterday to see if that's going on or not. If it is, usually in most cases they're benign, which is obviously what we're hoping, but we won't know until I get the scan results back. And then in that case, it could be a case of them going in. Apparently they have to go up through my nose to get it out, or through my head, or it could be medication, or some people just leave them and just see how it gets on. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one because my dad had a brain tumour, and of course, even though it's not that, I mean, he had something called glioblastoma multiforme or something. So it's not that, but of course, anything growing in your body that's not meant to be there is a bit...
Oh yeah, it's scary.
I'm like, how does it have space? Because your skull like holds everything in. So if there's something growing in there, surely that's not right. But then that's where the hormone levels was raised because it's caused something else to grow. So, I don't know, we'll find out about that soon, but I'm just hopeful that it's not anything sinister.
Yeah, me too.
The thing is with that is that I'm talking about it on Instagram. That's kind of where I was going with it before, about being like real and stuff. Some people don't want to know about that. The men that watch my stories, whatever, probably don't want to hear about my periods. That's why I'm like, you sure you want to hear? Because, you know, boys are boys. But I've mentioned the stuff about PCOS before, and the interaction I got back from it, like the response was crazy. And a lot of people found some sort of either a bit of a push to be like, oh, that actually resonates with me, I should go and get this checked. Or they've been like, that happened to me as well. And like, you know, it gives someone a feeling of not being on their own. Yeah. And that's what I felt from it. So I thought I may as well continue sharing the journey. And once again, the response last night, some people tell you things that you don't want to know. They're like, oh, I've had that and it's like this cancer. And I'm like, oh, no, don't want to hear that. But also there are people that have great stories too. And that's what you get with social media. There's people that, you know, there's bad stuff and good stuff. But it's my way of kind of just being honest, because a lot of the time on socials, everything's hunky-dory. I think I said this. Everything's always fun and games and everyone's smiling and all that. And then, but they don't actually show that I was actually in a tube yesterday having an MRI scan because I might have some sort of tumour, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think it's really brave that you share it.
Yeah.
Really brave.
We'll see.
And I hope everything's all right.
Thanks. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine. I mean, I say I'm not worried about it, but I obviously was because I fainted. I've never fainted before. Have you ever fainted?
Yeah, I fainted a couple of times. I fainted once when I was helping clean my grandma's garden and I was climbing over the fence, but it was like an old fence. So it broke and I fell through it. But then there was pottery on the floor.
Oh, no.
My hands went through and it, like, you can still see the scar there. It went through.
Bleeding?
Like, it went through my hand.
Oh, my God.
And I could see the cartilage in the bone. And then and my whole arms went like that in blood. And I was just like...
Yeah.
Fell down. And then literally, like, I didn't actually faint, but this was like a month ago. I broke my ankle. I know. This is my first day without the boot.
Oh my God, he's a magic man. What the hell?
It's my first day without the boot.
How?
Well...
How did you break it? Not how are you without the boot?
I broke it playing football. Yeah. Stupid. It was fine. I carried on playing. I walked home. The adrenaline obviously was fine. And then I slept on the sofa because it was sore. I slept on the sofa rather than going upstairs. And in the morning, my daughter woke up and she was like, Daddy. And I went to walk upstairs and then, but like I got halfway up and I just went, why? And then I was like, something's not right. Yeah, like, something's not right. Like the adrenaline obviously worn off. And I didn't actually faint because I was like, I think I was so focused on like getting to her so she didn't like fall down the stairs or something.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Oh, how old is she?
She's 2. Yeah, she's unreal.
Gorgeous.
But yeah, no, I mean, look, even I read it. I know you're saying like guys don't want to listen to that, but I relate to that because like my mum didn't even know she was pregnant with me for like 4 months or something ridiculous.
Well, that's what someone said to me. Someone was like, your prolactin levels could be high because you're pregnant. I was like, don't fucking say that. I don't have time. I can't be pregnant.
But she was an aerobics teacher, fitness freak. So like similar to you, like passion but obsession. That kind of borderline.
Yeah. I used to teach aerobics as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that vibe. So you remind me of my mum a little bit.
Really?
Like the energy is nice. But yeah, and also like actually my mum had a brain tumour as well, but she survived. It was benign. It was in the prefrontal cortex.
Mad. That's good. Amazing.
Yeah, astrocytoma. But like I heard you speak about it. I listened to it a couple of weeks ago when I knew you were coming on, and you said that your dad changed after treatment.
Yeah.
Because my mum has had the treatment as like a major surgery, and of course it's shifted her personality slightly. So she's a bit different. Yeah. And I don't know whether it's just different because of age, but it's still hard to accept as the son who's like you have an expectation of that person.
They're taking something out of your brain, so regardless of whether it's just removing the tumour, they're obviously removing part of your brain, so that's going to change who you are, I think. But yeah, my dad, he had quite a few operations, so after the second or third one or whatever it was, he was quite different then because it wasn't himself anymore at all. He was hardly capable of having a conversation at that point, which was where me and my mum was like, this is just, we can't do any more of this, because you have to just be selfish for both of you, like, and think he's not got any quality of life, so what's the point in continuing with all the steroids and everything and just keeping him alive, and stop being selfish on our part, because we obviously don't want to lose him, but he's not got the quality of life that he deserves or once anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's really sad to hear. I think that's the awful thing with brain tumours, because when it's anywhere else in the body, you've still got your head, you know. But when it is your brain, unfortunately, that's who you are as a person. So,
you know what I've learned? Literally just breaking my ankles. Like, firstly, how great is slowing down. Like literally slowing down, and because I don't do it, I was forced to. I saw the world, it felt like, in slow motion, like the last 4 weeks. But also today, coming off of crutches and coming out my boot, I suddenly realised like people were really cautious and helpful and like looking after me and like giving me space when the crutches in the boot and stuff. And first day off the boot, being back in London, no one gives a shit because they can't see it now.
Yeah.
Like it's still healing. I still can't walk like perfectly, but it's just that, and that's the problem with injuries that you can't see.
Yeah, it's so true. That's mad though that you say that. I feel like if oh my God, I don't know what I'd do if I broke my ankle.
I know.
I'd probably get so fat
because
I'd just be eating my feelings. I'd be like, I can't do anything anyway, so what's the point?
Luckily, they said that because this is an argument for fitness, right? Because I had strong legs, the bone didn't move out of place, so it broke, but it stayed in where it's meant to be. Good.
Oh, it's making me cringe.
I know, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But so that's an argument for like being fit to prepare you for anything. It meant I didn't have to have an operation. I didn't have to have a cast.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it like cut my recovery time by a third. Because
that's one reason for being fit in itself.
Yeah, and my mum said actually with her brain tumour that if she didn't do or have the fitness level that she had, the doctor said she would have died.
Well, this is the thing with my dad as well. He it was almost like when he was in the hospice, like he wasn't there anymore. But because my dad was a rugby player as well.
Was he?
So he was so fit and healthy. The doctors were almost like, he's stayed alive for this long because the rest of his body is so fit and healthy.
Yeah.
Like, and we were almost like, okay, we get it now, just because he wasn't capable anyway. That's crazy. Well, that's amazing that you've got strong legs. Good for you.
So, last one.
Okay.
What advice would you offer to somebody who is on the precipice of doing something they haven't done before, like this leap of faith? So they're thinking about it and they're about to do it. What advice would you give them? Because you've literally just gone through this process. You're about to launch in like 4 weeks. And you've learned so much. And I know you're being so amazing and honest and open here and talking about how it's scary and you're blagging it and imposter syndrome.
I'm so blagging it.
And I get it, but you've done it. You've done the work. Actually, all that's left to do is launch and just see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, so what advice would you offer to people doing that?
I think it's very important to say there's that element of if it's not broke, don't fix it with a lot of things. But there is also a comfortability with that. And if you think, if you want more, I feel what I was doing before worked to an extent, but I was never going to grow or get any bigger or more successful if I carried on doing what I was doing with Shape Up.
Yeah.
So I took the leap finally after various different meetings with loads of people to make my decision. But sometimes you just have to, I feel like your gut says a lot. I went through a lot of different options and avenues that I could have taken before something felt right. And even though it's scary, sometimes you just have to take the chance, because if you don't try, then you'll never know. And there's like a huge world out there of opportunity that is up for grabs, really.
What does that feeling feel like that intuitive feeling? You know, saying like gut feeling.
There's a few times that I've really felt it. Told you when I went for the Love Island audition and I just knew in my gut that I had it. It was so weird. But when I had this feeling about the next steps for Shape Up, it was fight or flight. It's kind of like take flight. I was either going to fight it off and just stay where I'm comfortable, or take the chance that I'm like, okay, so this feels good and I feel like I can work with this. You're going to have to go for it. You literally only get one life. And that is something that my mum always lives by after losing my dad. Life is so short. So if there's a potential of doing something that could be amazing, you'll always think, what if you don't do it? If there's like a very good chance that it's going to be successful, just freaking do it. because you never know.
I love it.
Yeah?
You all right for one more?
What would you say?
What would I say to people taking a leap of faith?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Come on.
I should have an answer for that.
This is you saying it to me.
I would say... I'm on the spot with my own question.
Sorry.
What would I say for someone taking a leap of faith? It depends what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's an element of risk, fuck it, just jump, build the plane on the way down. But there's also an element of preparing for that, like having financial runway. Like when I left the corporate world, I had 12 months financial runway. So I could pay myself for 12 months without the risk of having to like need income. This is the more like tactical, boring side of it. But it meant that then when I was getting clients, I wasn't like coming from lack, needing you to stay with me.
Yeah.
And all those things, which means you don't perform better anyway. And then there's an element of like trusting what you're doing and listening to yourself so that when you do leap out, you can fly. Like you trust in your ability to fly and figure it out on the way down.
Yeah.
And getting the right people around you.
I like that because that is kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll do all right, but like learn on the job.
Yeah.
Which I think most people are doing anyway.
Yeah.
Most people like us that are doing working for yourselves or entrepreneurs or whatever, you do learn a lot as you go. I mean, I did my PT course, but I learned more. And like, that was frigging 7 years ago. And I've learned more in the last, say, 4 years than I have done the whole time I've been like an actual PT, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing. You're forced to, right? Because no one else is going to do it.
Yeah, and also like you learn more meeting new people and you know, I'm sure you do as well, like learning, working with different people. You have to use different methods or, you know, tap into people in different ways. And then you might meet someone similar in the future that was similar to someone else before. And, you know, it's every opportunity is different, but you can use different stuff from earlier.
Yeah. If it was a ship, right, we're both on our own ships. So we've decided what we're passionate about. We've got our purpose, really. All those things are important when you begin. But then the ship represents this autonomy and mastery. So the autonomy, like the freedom to steer the ship anywhere we want. And we're deciding where we're doing that. You're building this amazing app. You know, you're going to do more books and all the stuff you do with your content. And then the mastery is just do that the best you fucking can.
Yeah. That's all you can do. The best that you can. And I think that's really important. Like if you are going to take the flight and do something new and, you know, take the risk, you have to make sure that it's the best that you can do and don't compare it to other people. Unless you're looking at other people for inspiration, don't be looking at yourself and putting yourself down. I mean, this is what I'm saying to myself as well, which I have to actively say to myself all the time. Doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. As long as you're doing the best that you can do, yes, you can take a bit of a rocket up your arse if you see that, okay, I should be doing that, rather than, oh, they're doing that and I should be doing that more. Like, right, you know, as I say, like creative inspiration. But it's important to focus on, like, you know, what is it that you want to do, your vision, not what anyone else is doing.
Love that.
Because other people look at us as well. That's what you also have to remember. And Brandon says this to me too. He's like, you do know that other people are also looking at you going, oh, she's doing that, or like, you know, she's done this and she's done that. But you don't really ever put yourself in the other person's shoes. So it's so much time focusing on what they're doing.
Are you okay for one more?
Go on.
Last one.
Yeah,
right.
fine.
Take yourself back to, it could be a particularly difficult moment in your life or a pivotal moment. It could be pre-Love Island. Imagine there's two versions of yourself. What's the difference between the one who's gone on to achieve all the amazing things that you've done, the person who's sat opposite me today, and the one who wouldn't have gone on to do all those things?
I feel like recently I brought in elements of my pre-Love Island self into me. Because pre-Love Island, I was like looking for work all the time. I was working at about 6 different studios. I was doing about 60 hours a week of classes or PT, and I was working my absolute arse off. And then post Love Island, I was a grafter basically. And then post Love Island, I was entitled to an extent because I was just raking it in and not really doing much about it. But then there got to a point where, as I said, killed my soul doing a lot of stuff that I didn't want to do. I mean, the novelty wears off after a while. And then I had to really refocus on what it is that I wanted to do. And it has become a a game of now wanting to be one of the best fitness influencers around, because we know that there's so much competition or whatever. And if I don't work my ass off like I did pre-Love Island, I'm not going to get anywhere. Nothing's going to get done if I just sit round and wait for the work to come for me. So I think I feel like I'm now a mixture of both, you know. I obviously have all the great things, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity of Love Island and giving me the platform that I've got, and I've had amazing opportunities. I've worked with amazing brands. I've done a lot of amazing stuff, but I have also got to the point where I've kind of revisiting and stripping it back to the grafter, because I'm never going to be what I want to be if I don't work for it. And I feel like there's such a bigger sense of achievement if you work hard for something rather than being given it.
Yeah, so good. I love it. I heard something the other day that said that success, there's no elevator to success. There's only the stairs.
Yeah, it's so true.
You have to take the stairs.
How much more rewarding is it when you know that you've like really put the time and effort into something? And that's what I feel like with the stuff that I say in hindsight, I wish I hadn't have done, because it was rushed and because it wasn't really thought about within the inch of the life, within an inch of your life. It's like, if I really put my heart and soul in something, I know I could put something out there that's amazing. And that's why even with the app, I've pushed off the start date so like about 3 times, because I'm like, no, I want to be proud of it when I put it out, because I don't want to feel like this again in a few years' time and be like, wish I hadn't have done that. I've done enough of that. I want to be proud of everything from now on, and that just takes time and patience. See, you've coached me already today. No, already learnt so much from you.
Gabby, thanks. I've really loved chatting with you. It's been a pleasure, so thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's all right.
Sorry I talk so much.
No, it was amazing. I can't wait for people to hear it. It's going to be great.
You have reached your destination.
Hey, it's Mark Whittle. Thanks so much for watching or listening. It's so great to have you a part of the Take Flight movement. Subscribe to the podcast on all platforms, video and audio, to be the first to see new episodes and new conversations with the greatest minds in the world. Follow me at markwhittle_TF on all social platforms, and visit takeflightworld.com to join our growing community of hustlers, performers and go-getters. I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, stay positive, stay motivated, and of course, take flight.